back up again. I like taking away the metal detectors. I like committees to being able to work. I like people being able to visit. I hope you like being able to be back in. I think it was important that members actually show up to work as well. You know, to paraphrase Lou Gehrig, he said, "I might have been given a bad break, but I truly still consider myself to be the luckiest man on the face of the earth." There's no other country that you could rise to be the 55th speaker, not get an internship, and be able to fight for the American public. So it was my greatest honor to be able to do it. I love my conference well. I love the ability. I've been a part of the leadership team for quite some time. We won 2 majorities. As leader, I'm proud of the fact we only gained races, only gained seats. I'm proud of the fact as a Republican leader, we elected more women, we elected more minorities, we expanded the base. I'm proud of the fact that for the 5 years I was leader, 2 election cycles, we gained 5 more seats in California, 5 more in New York. We won in places no one thought we could win. The same thing, you would underestimate me. You always said we'd lose each time around. We kept gaining. I intend to make sure that we gain and keep the majority in the next cycle as well. With that, I look forward to your positive questions. Yes. Oh, I'll look at that.
You still obviously convey a lot of loyalty within the conference. We've heard you say it approximately 10,000 times that you never give up. So I'm wondering, why not? Why did you make the decision not to put your name forward again and try to grind it out like you did when you won the job in the first place?
You know, you need 218 for the rule, 218 to move forward. And I'll never give up on the American people. That doesn't mean I have to be speaker to do what I have to do for the American people. There's a lot of things I could do for the American people. But you know what's interesting? Everybody's sitting there. In today's world, if you're sitting in Congress and you took a gamble to make sure government was still open, and 8 people can throw you out as speaker, and the Democrats who said they wanted to keep government open, I think you've got a real divide. I think you've got a real institutional problem. Interesting, it was in this room, after we had won the majority, I had become speaker list, and Nancy Pelosi came to me. She was speaker at the time on the way out. And I told her I was having issues with getting enough votes. And she said, "What's the problem?" I said, "They want this one person can rule you out." She was the only speaker that changed that rule. I had the power to call the vote on her, but I never would. I lost some votes because of it. And she said, "Just give it to him. I'll always back you up." I made the same offer to Boehner and same thing to Paul, because I believe in the institution. I think today was a political decision by the Democrats. And I think the things they have done in the past hurt the institution. And they just started removing people from committee. And they just started doing the other things. And my fear is the institution fell today. Because you can't do the job if 8 people, you have 94% or 96% of your entire conference, but 8 people can partner with the whole other side. How do you govern? And for them to make a motion on me because I made a decision for the country that they agreed with, but they choose to do the other, that becomes a problem. Yes, sir.
He's exactly right.
What are you planning on endorsing a successor to your?
Shame on those
I
8.
might. I might.
Yes,
Yeah.
shame
I
on
don't know, I
him.
don't know who's running it. I'll talk to people.
And when you look back, is there anything you could have done differently to what those 8 members?
Yeah, a lot of them I helped get elected, so I probably should have picked somebody else. You know, I love these 200. They've gone through so much. They're down in the conference. They want me to. They'll say they're going to keep voting for me. I think you should put the country first. You know, this job was never about me. I hope you felt that
That's true with him.
I always felt, what can we do best to move forward? I mean, I treated Hakeem the way I wanted to be treated. I'd tell him things we were doing throughout, so he never was questioned. I wanted to bring the body back differently. We created a select committee on China. I changed the Intel committee. They just came back from MIT where they all had bipartisan briefing on AI and quantum. Started doing briefings with AI the whole conference of Republicans and Democrats alike. We're far from solving that problem, but I'm proud of what we were able to do there. So we'll continue. Yes, sir.
When did you make this decision? Did you know what you guys succeeded that you were not evaluating, or was this right afterwards you had come?
You know, not all those 8, but these are the same people that never voted for me. They thought it was big. They went to present after we went through 15 rounds. Why do I do something for myself that could hurt the country? Why create? I'm not quite sure those individuals are looking to be productive. It concerns me as a Republican based upon watching what they do. I want to be a Republican and a conservative that governs. And we're going to have to find our way to do that. The challenge is we had so many opportunities. These are the same people that sat on the floor and criticized me that we didn't get all 12 spending bills done, but we first had to do a debt ceiling that they didn't support. They held up every appropriation bill in the summer because they wouldn't let it come through. After the debt ceiling, they stopped us from doing anything on the floor. When we had a continuing resolution that would do something on the border, I listened to one talk about how it made him think about the border and when he voted against it. And then they wanted to challenge me because I worked with the other side so America could go forward and government could stay open. You know, if you have to lose for something, I will always lose for the country. It is a much better battle to have. Yes, sir.
Doing this job, what advice do you have for the next speaker?
Change the rules. Do you think I let it? I mean, for the whole point, I mean, if you talk about like a Gates came to the whole conference and said, we will never use this. We'll never use this, you know. I mean, this is a man that sat there on the 14th vote and said, okay, I'm going to vote for you next time, and falls back and not. So, I mean, it's just the trustworthiness of a lot of individuals. It makes it difficult. But I do not think, regardless of who the speaker is, that you should have that rule. You know, everybody had it but Pelosi, but it was never used until it started getting used against Boehner. And if you can always count on the other party to vote in the block against it, then you're allowing 4 to 5 people to control whatever. So it doesn't matter even if you have 96%. So that is not a government that works.
Right.
That is chaotic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, right, go right ahead. I don't think it says about the Republican Party. I think it says something about some people who are not a conservative. I mean, if you were a conservative and you only had one entity making the battle and you vote against securing the border, you vote against cutting the wasteful spending, and then you partner with all the Democrats. Now you'll phrase it all the other different ways. That's not a conservative. Look, you all know Matt Gaetz. You know it was personal. It had nothing to do about spending. It had nothing to do about everything he accused somebody of he was doing. It all was about getting attention from you.
That's right.
I mean, we're getting email fundraisers from him as he's doing it. Join in quickly. That's not governing. That's not becoming of a member of Congress.
Right.
And regardless of what you think, I've seen the text. It was all about his ethics. But that's all right.
Mr. President, can I just clarify quickly from the first question? Are you considering resigning?
No, I said, he asked about that. I haven't thought about that. I said, yeah.
And then just where are you placing the blame? You said the institution is.
Look. No. I'm not going to blame anybody. There's not blame anywhere. Look, I give it as good as I get, right? So You know the challenge. I knew going in. You would take a poll all the time. Is he going to get thrown out this week? But you know what? If I lose my job over doing what I truly believe was right, I'm very at peace with it. You asked earlier, like, when did I decide? I knew they would make the motion on me. It didn't make one bit of difference. I felt very comfortable in that decision. And I think the American public believed that decision was right.
Matt, to introduce yourself to the Republican conference.
That's the conference's decision.
Mr. Carter, you mentioned that you're looking to maybe help instill in another way. Would you consider having a position somewhere in the conference, whether it's leadership or the chairmanship? Can you talk about that?
No. There's a lot of great people in conference. There's always other people to do jobs. It is amazing the talent that we have. And the one thing I've always hoped as speaker that we lifted more of that talent up. I look at people doing a lot of different jobs and the different opportunities we did, and they're doing an exceptional job. We have so much talent. It is remarkable. Yes.
Was this kind of in your mind a little bit preordained from the beginning? Obviously, when it was a much more narrow majority than what you anticipated, what Republicans considered 15 rounds, the longest speaker's race since 1859. And then
I made history, didn't I?
it was that, well, we did do that. But was that kind of always thought that it was inevitably going to go this because of the narrow majority and because the writing might have been on the wall because of that longest speaker?
Well, would any of you think if it took that long and you had a one person, you knew it was always a possibility, so that was fine. Didn't bother me, didn't change any of my decision I made. But it was interesting. I read a tweet the other day of Matt Rosendale. He goes to mass every day. But you know what he said his prayer was all last year? That Republicans didn't have a big victory, that they had a narrow victory. When you have members like that are part of your team, you got a tough team. You know, look, when I was in business, I got to hire and fire who worked with me. Somebody else hires them, somebody else fires them. My job was to inspire them. I think we did some good work, and I think we'll continue to do great work. Yes, sir.
Can you reflect back on 2010 when you guys were the young guys, right? You, Paul Ryan.
Eric Cantor, yeah.
Now, all three of you guys have been essentially.
Well, we're not that young anymore.
Well, you all three have been pushed out by so-called more conservative.
No, let's be fair, and it's wrong that you ever say. They are not conservatives. They voted against, one, the greatest cut in history that Congress has ever voted for, $2 trillion. They voted against work requirements. They voted against NEPA reform. They voted against border security. They voted against, they don't get to say they're conservative because they're angry and they're chaotic. That's not the party I belong to. The party of Reagan was if you believed in your principles that you could govern in a conservative way. They are not conservatives and they do not have the right to have the title. Yes.
Party in this direction that makes it difficult to govern, makes it difficult to get conservative votes.
Why do you say that? Because your question doesn't hold true to history. When Donald Trump was president, we did tax reform. You can look at all of our different successes. So, I mean, you may dislike the policy, but we've been very successful. You watched the Abraham Accords. I mean, you can go victory after victory. The price of gas, we were energy independent at the time. We had more businesses growing at the time.
Right.
We didn't have to evacuate our embassies. You know, it's easy on its merit to see the difference of what Biden has destroyed America to what the policies we were able to create. Yes, sir. No, we didn't ask for anything. No. And you know, I have a lot of respect for Hawking. He wants to win the majority. I heard what they said in conference, you know. Why would they vote for me if I've won every time as leader and raised 70% of all the money? It's an opportunity for them. The real question to the 8, why would you enable and allow the Democrats to do it?
That's right. That's the real question.
Yes.
That's the sad question. And the sad answer
What
is,
concessions
they
did I
thought
make?
of themselves, greed.
To what? Look, I'm not going to, no. I'm a Republican. I win by Republicans and I lose by Republicans. It's not that way. And so, did I work with, I believe you should work across the aisle. I worked across the aisle at times. Do I want to make the bill the most conservative possible? Yes, that's the goal. It's difficult when you can't get 218 for the conservative bill. And then they want to challenge you when you went and solved and kept the government open. Yes, sir.
The last few months, you've been a fireball against the debt ceiling crisis. Government shut it down.
We did pretty well, didn't we?
How big a risk do you think a shutdown is in November without you as speaker?
Other people can do the job. You know what's interesting? I've never received so many texts from so many senators about how big a play we just did the other day. Or how many congratulations about the debt ceiling and the other. I mean, if I would go back to the days before the debt ceiling, none of you even thought I'd get a meeting with the president. All of you'd ask me, is it going to fall off the cliff? End of the day, we worked an agreement out. Some of those people got mad about it, but 2/3, the highest number of Republicans ever voted for a debt ceiling when you had, and you only negotiated based upon the deal we went. That was the moment they wanted to go after, and that's what they continue to follow through. Yeah. You should. Look, government's designed that you have to have compromise. No, you can't get everything that you want. You know, you got a House, you got a Senate, but I get more to question.
My question was just going to be that some of the criticism leveled today by both Democrats and by Republicans is that perhaps you've been too transactional.
In which way?
Part of that keeping the word.
In which word did I not keep? Name one thing I did not keep.
Gates says that there's several things they keep from James.
No, tell me. What did Gates say? What did I not keep in Gates' mind? Because Gates had never been a part of the discussion. Just because Gates said something, don't believe it's true. I haven't heard him say one true thing yet.
Right.
On what? On what? That is not true. So no. If you're going to ask the question, you're going to say it. Tell me how I did something different on the debt ceiling bill. Any of you. Tell me what I did different on the debt ceiling, that I didn't keep my word.
You said it was a floor, you said it was a ceiling.
Is it not a ceiling? Okay, this is the Okay, no. When you agree to spending levels, that's the maximum amount you can spend. This is what is wrong with Washington. Because it's the height that you can spend, you can also spend less. We're a different body. So does any of you believe then the Senate broke their word on the debt ceiling? Because they spent more than the limit. But somehow I'm wrong because I want to save the taxpayers more money. We're our own body. I have 2 children. If I give them each $100 for dinner and one spends 100 and one spends 80, am I going to yell at the one who spent 80 and say, oh my God, you got to spend it all? It's not our money. And why am I getting criticized because I'm fighting for the American people that we can eliminate waste? And you know what? We're our own body. So if we can pass the bills, and the Senate can pass the bills, but they pass them higher, but they haven't passed anything, somehow I'm wrong. I kept my word. I did not spend over the limit. They broke their word.
You don't feel you're too transactional.
Okay, you used the word, how was I transactional? If you ask a question, I want you to show an example. Give me an example.
The definition is basically this for that.
So what did I do this for that?
Well, on the CR, we've been talking about leaving in, leaving out, and then finally put down.
No, you're making no sense. What transaction did it? No, I did no transaction. I tried to pass a conservative stopgap measure that secured the border and actually cut spending. When that didn't go, the only bill that was going was sitting over in the Senate that had a stopgap measure, disaster, and Ukraine. I made a decision as Speaker to keep the government open, and I put something on the floor, and let me get this straight to all of you. Because someone said, 72-hour rule? I'm the only one who's lived by it. We're the ones who created it. We never broke the 72-hour rule. The bill I put on the floor was a suspension, which takes a 2/3 vote. And you know what? You can put a suspension on a rule, and you can waive it based upon the leadership. That's exactly what I followed. So my question to you is, when somebody says something, don't take it that it's gospel. Why don't you ask them to point? When Gates said I didn't follow, said, show me one place. You saw Massey, Thomas Massey, who is the hardest lying person, say we followed all the rules all the time. That he was in the room when the agreement was made, and then we surpassed what we said we would do.
Amen. And that's exactly right.
If you ask me a question,
Our congressman was there and watched it, Thomas
Massey. It's
Massey.
not true, it's not fair.
How important is it that the speaker of the House be a member of the institution? Some members are floating before the president.
They always float some of them. Yes, okay. First of all, you got to be in the institution to understand how it works. And look, it's legal to have somebody else. I just do not think that would ever be good. And do I regret? You start with this question. No, I don't think you've ever been positive on that, but come on, I have high hope. This is going to be exciting. That's a good thing.
Not reaching out personally to people like Nancy Mace, Tim Burchett, who sat down on the House X-Day and told us that he said something condescending to him.
Okay, let's get through this. I personally like Tim Burchett, and I called Tim Burchett because I read his quote. And Tim Burchett's a friend of mine, which I'm kind of shocked by this. And Tim Burchett, in his quote, said, he's leaning towards no, he's on CNN, but I'm going to pray about it. So I pick up the phone and call him, because I didn't think he was already there. I said, Tim, I read your quote. You said you're going to pray about it. I wanted to talk to you about it. And somehow he construes that, I'm a Christian. I'm not going to offend somebody. I simply read his quote back. I thought there was still an opening, and I wanted to talk to him about it. He never mentioned anything when we were communicating like that. And he said, Nancy Mace is a whole nother story. Okay? Let's just be honest here. This is the one that I just got a text from a primary opponent saying, why'd you spend $3 million? But I called Nancy Mace's chief of staff yesterday. And because I called the chief of staff. Well, she was on The View saying I didn't keep my word, so I don't know what to... Listen, I can't say this in the press, but okay. But so, no, you keep it among yourselves, right? Wait till my book. No. So I called her chief of staff because, I don't know, maybe I don't connect her with someone else, but I just said to him, I said, can you please tell me, I don't understand, where have I not kept my word? You know what her chief of staff said? You have kept your word, 100%. Members come to me, and one thing, I don't like the idea that a member comes and tries to leverage me. I don't go for that. You know, I'll vote for the bill. That's not well. But if you have a problem with the bill, I want to help you. But I can't sit there and write your entire bill and work it all the way through committee. We just got our one bill out. It came back, the other bill doing on guns, it just wasn't working. Do I do something else? We did something else. I just don't appreciate, look, I bite my lip. I let people say things that are not true, but it's not right. It is not right. Her chief of staff told all of us we have kept every single one of our words. And he said he's told her that too. Now, if somehow he gets fired, I'll still give him a job.
Last question.
What, I'm being too honest now? Oh my God. No, but do I regret the Democrats playing games with January 6th? Yes. They played so many politics. What they did to this institution, what they did to this building was so wrong. The idea that they put magnetometers there, the idea that they would go to any Republican member that they had been co-sponsors of bills and they no longer could be a co-sponsor, that they would fine members $5,000 if the magnetometers went on, but when Nancy went around it or Clyburn was supposed to get a fine, it all got waived. The idea that bills didn't have to go through committee. The idea is they created a select committee on January 6th and they wouldn't let the minority appoint who to do it. Look, I'm trying to change all that and bring the body back till they can work together. But I think they did a lot of damage to us. Yes, sir.
I was trying to ask the appropriation bills one by one. We're
guys.
It's a shame he's not going to be there. I wish they would
That's always been
re-elect
my
him.
goal. You know, I just talked to Mitch yesterday, and I had to call into Schumer, and I talked to Hakeem last night. What I was going to do is, because we had taken 5 up, we passed 4 of them. I was going to start individually pre-conferencing so we can get this work done. I'm concerned with the timeline now. Look, I truly believe at the end of the day we can get this all worked out. I do believe at the end of the day we could find common ground and do something about the border. I don't know if this has caused problems. Look, I was doing Squawk today and they had the other TV on, MSNBC. The first time I saw MSNBC running a whole story about the border with people just walking across. You know, Pritzker sent a letter yesterday about immigration. Massachusetts governor, state of emergency. Connecticut. Everybody is becoming the #1. They cannot ignore it. And I had told my members all before, I heard Dave say something on the floor that, oh my God, Kevin asked for a stopgap measure when he came back. The whole plan was because those 8 and a few more had held up passing any of these approach bills all summer, I was going to do just what we did Saturday, a stopgap measure with disaster. I'd gone out to Hawaii, we looked what happened in Florida, those people shouldn't be held back. And we could finish doing it all individually, but somehow they think that's a dirty word. Yes. Oh yeah, we Jackson color. Oh, you know, my poor mom. Have you guys met my mom yet? My mom's fabulous. My mom's this Italian lady. And she calls me the other day. She said, oh, she gets worried. She reads what you guys write. And she says, I'm so nervous. I said, why, Mom? It's all right. She said, last night, she went in the house and she left her car running in the garage all night long, right? And my mom only fills her car
Sounds like me,
once a week
Jim.
at Costco on Wednesdays and calls me because the price, she still lives in California, the price of gas is so high. She asked me what I'm going to do about it. But look, I think this job is always harder on your loved ones than you yourself. So they'll be okay.
Did you make a signed deal with the White
No.
House?
No. Look, unequivocally no. Oh, well, if you want to categorize this, let me see, because people think some big study. I did tell when we were doing the stopgap measure, there was a concern in there, does it have transferability on money? I believed and my staff believed it did, but what I did say to the White House, if it does not, if you think some way it doesn't do it the way it would, I will fix that. I did say that, and I did say I do it. Look, I support arming Ukraine. That doesn't mean sending them cash, but arming Ukraine. But I have been on the White House even before they sent this supplemental. I said, you guys are doing it all wrong by just sending us a supplemental. And I think the president is failing here because he's not telling the American public what is the mission. Now, we have a lot of members who are Navy SEALs who've been in theater and F-18 pilots, and they're frustrated. They want to support, but they don't want to support an ever-ending war. They want to see what's going on here. And I've really been on the White House. You've got to come down and talk to them, but you should listen to them and the prospects. I'm really concerned, though, long-term. What's happening around looks a lot like the 1930s. A lot of actions that Putin takes is very similar to Hitler. If you are history buffs, you'll know Hitler served in the World War I army, right? He hated that his country collapsed and they signed the Treaty of Versailles. And what did he do? He ran and created a new party and ran in democracy again and again and again until he won. And when he won, what did he do? He took the freedoms away. And then he rebuilt his military, and even though it went against the Treaty of Versailles, the world powers said nothing. And then what did he do? He took part of Czechoslovakia. He took Austria. And then he told the entire world he was going to take the rest of it on a given day. So now the world power could not sit back, so in come Neville Chamberlain. But what had happened? Well, Hitler loved it because he was equal now to the world power, but he saw weakness. Neville Chamberlain made him sign a piece of paper and told us peace for our time. And then he invaded Poland the next year, and World War II began. If you study Putin, Putin didn't serve in the Soviet Union Army, but he served in the KGB. He hated that his country collapsed to the West. He hated it so much, when Gorbachev died, he still didn't attend the funeral. What did he do? He rebuilt his military. But he learned something. A military makes you strong, but dependency makes you weak. He rebuilt it by selling his natural gas to Europe. But when his pipeline that went through Ukraine, when they changed power, he didn't want to pay. So he proposed a new pipeline, Nord Stream 2. Everybody loved it. America at least sanctioned it. Merkel said, great. But what did he do when he rebuilt his military? Invaded Georgia, took part of the Donbass, took Crimea. And the world powers really didn't say much. But then when he parked 100,000 troops on the border of Ukraine, and after he watched Afghanistan collapse, that's going to give us challenges for the next 2 decades. He got his meeting with the world power. So in comes Biden. And what does Biden do? He lifts the sanctions off Nord Stream 2, but asks nothing for it. Putin misreads that and invades Ukraine, thinking it would collapse in 2 weeks based upon Afghanistan. But now we have something even worse that's happened in the 1930s. Before Hitler moved, he created an axis of power, right? With Italy and Japan. All countries who wanted to expand their sphere of influence. Before Putin invaded Afghanistan, what did he do? Create an axis of power with China, North Korea, and Iran. All countries who want to expand their sphere of influence. So what we do here is very important. We can't sit there and just collapse it, because it'll look from Afghanistan. We can't just throw money at it. If we provide the weapons to be successful, but why it's so much personal to me, in 2014 or 2015, when Putin invaded the first time, I went to Ukraine. And then I came back. And I took a bipartisan group, and we went to the White House. And we sat in the Situation Room with then the vice president, who was in charge of Ukraine, Joe Biden. And we advocated, let's sell them javelins so they can stop tanks. So they wouldn't invade. He said no. They said, Europeans wouldn't want. I said, well, why don't we sell them to them now and keep them in Poland? Didn't think that was right. And I fear of making the same mistake twice and sending the wrong messages. But the thing I would tell everybody is, more Americans are dying on the southern border than are dying in Ukraine. Each and every day, a plane of Americans crash from fentanyl. And I don't understand how the White House continues to ignore it. My whole plan, and I've been up front from the very beginning when I would say, if you want anything on Ukraine, we got to do something with the border.
Mr. President, you mentioned earlier you regret helping get some.
I was joking. They're all right.
To lose him in this position is a terrible thing for the country.
Well, you know, one of the things, when I was running for speaker, they said I couldn't get involved in primaries. But I told the conference I'm a free agent now, aren't I? I think I'm pretty good at electing people.
Mr. President, last time you spoke to President Biden, do you expect to now?
You know, I was thinking about that. It's been a long, long time. I couldn't remember when I spoke to him last. You know, I've worked with a couple different presidents. I would have thought, we had built some respect for one another going through the debt ceiling. I know he got frustrated with me, but, and I have a great deal of respect for the people in his office I worked for. Rachetti and all them, I think look, we have different philosophies, Schwanza and the others. They're smart, I respect them, they were honest, and I thought we made a good agreement. As a president, I would engage more. I think being hands-on, look, you're the leader of the free world. All the other presidents, I think bringing people together is a better way, talking through stuff. When you're in those rooms, you can talk about all sorts of things.
Do you think opening an impeachment inquiry into him and the behavior of his son might have contributed to that?
To what part?
What part about you guys not communicating right now?
No, let's talk about that. You guys play with, and remember what impeachment inquiry is simply the ability to give the House, Republicans and Democrats, the power when you request for information. So if you were lawmakers, and I hold you in high esteem because you are investigative reporters in America, you're supposed to cover this stuff. When I came into power, I didn't know any of this. I did not know when he was vice president that his family created 20 shell companies. I had no idea about that. Not saying that's wrong. I did not know they got 16 of the 17 payments from Romania while he was vice president, and he was supposed to be in charge of Romania. I didn't know that. I had no idea when a whistleblower came to us and said that the FBI has an informant they still pay who claims that the president was bribed by $5 million. And what's interesting, we had to fight to get that document. And when we got that document, it said it'd be hard to find because he has a lot of shell companies. Then I had no idea that IRS agents would come to us. How would I know? They come to us and say, look, we've worked for 16 years, we don't have any political basis on the other side, but we're concerned with what's happened here. That DOJ allowed the statute of limitations to run out. That they weren't allowed to interview Hunter, because when they went and told the FBI, they told them. And then they even told the inaugural committee, I didn't know how that played in, that the DOJ would call Hunter Biden's attorneys and tell them that they didn't even know about a storage unit with all the papers before they could go there. The president told us he never had a meeting. He never talked to his son. Look, when he said he never talked to his son, I didn't believe that. I don't think it's wrong if you talk to your son. I don't want you to talk to your kids about anything, right? Doesn't mean you're influencing something. But he literally, I had no idea that the partner to Hunter Biden that also served on the Ukrainian Energy Board said they would literally call into meetings. And then he said that they were getting a lot of pressure of Burisma to do something about the Ukraine prosecutor. And I did know the president told the entire country that he withheld $1 billion of American taxpayer money to get rid of the prosecutor. And then we found out that the president not only called in the meetings, that he went to Cafe Milano. He went to Cafe Milano more times and met with the foreign business partners of Hunter Biden than he has gone to the border in 50 years. But with each meeting that you went to Cafe Milano, and I've never had this happen, I've been to Cafe Milano, but I've never gotten a new Porsche the next day, and I never got $3 million wired to me from a Russian oligarch. So, if you knew all of that, would you at least say, I think there's more things. We've never asked for the tax, or the bank statements of the president, of Hunter, or anybody else. And these 20 shell companies had credit cards that were being paid. Now this laptop that was supposed to be Russian that we now found out was Hunter, in there, he did say his father would take the money from him. He did make, and we did find out that the president, I didn't know this when I became speaker, used another name while he was vice president for emails. And in one of the emails, it said that it only went to him and his son Hunter, and it was about a phone call he was going to have with the president of Ukraine. Now, if you knew all of that, would you say, oh, I don't have any more questions? Or would you at least, as a lawmaker, and you have a role here, wouldn't you at least say, okay, well, we're going to have to go get some more documents, and if you're going to get more documents, I just want to make sure if they're going to fight it and string everything out, that we can get it. That's all impeachment inquiry. Now, if that made the president upset, maybe he shouldn't have lied to us from the beginning.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely. I don't think you could explain it better than this guy does, I tell you what. It's a sad thing to see this happen to him, because it's apparent that he knows what he's talking about worldwide.
Look, I didn't say that. I was just told that by Democrats in their conference. That's what helped them make their decision. That a lot of their frontline, I think their quote was, why would we help the person that becomes our executioner? So, I mean.
Do you think that these events will hurt the conference's chances of expanding the majority?
No, I'm sure Matt Gaetz will give the NRCSC a lot of money. He raised a lot on money. sure. I don't need to find out. Look, judge me by my enemies.
Have you spoken to the former president at any point today?
No.
So much of the area of strategy for what was the best possible here today. Find consensus, most conservative option, try and pass that, and then see if we can negotiate. Do you think that was the right tactic? Should Congress do that going forward, or would it?
Well, let me ask you this.
With Democrats?
Let me ask you this. Would we ever gotten the debt ceiling? Schumer said never talk to us. Schumer went on a Sunday show, watch, Kevin's gonna break. The president said he would never talk to me, that we just had to raise it. Had we not passed the bill, we never got it. So yes, I think it worked well. All right, yes. Well, no, I'll continue to help all the way possible. Look, I've been very fortunate. When I came to Congress in my second term, I got to be Chief Deputy Whip. I got to be Majority Whip, I got to be Majority Leader, I've been Minority Leader, and I've been Speaker. I've been blessed, and there's something about 10,000 hours, I believe in it, a lot of different experience, and I believe in bringing new blood up and helping them, and I want to help them all the way. Look, I enjoy you, I don't know if you'll cover me as much, but I'm sure I won't miss you, but see you soon.
Tragedy. Stupid move by a few really stupid
The
people.
resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The office of Speaker.
The Senate doesn't, the Senate